October Red. I'm back with Frank Smith. Frank Smith, thank you ever so much for accepting to come on. I tried to get you to do a live. I'd like to do a YouTube live with you one day. Do you think you'd be up for that?
Sure thing. What's a live? Where actually people watch it live, basically?
Yeah, that's it. And it's just more interactive. Listen, if
Yeah,
Gareth A. Davis can do it, and you know that sometimes he can get a bit of stick, I'm sure you'd be all right.
I'm up for it. Anytime,
I,
any
oh,
place.
this is it. This is beautiful. Thank you. But I know you're at the airport. I have written a bit of a shopping list because there's so much to talk to you about. But I'd like to do more conversations with yourself because I know everyone kind of like clambers for Eddie, but I'm like, no, I'm going to start going for Frank Smith, Mister Shy, Mister who won't host the press conferences and get the settees out when it comes to presser days. Talk to us about that.
I was actually talking about it yesterday. I was doing an interview with Eddie, although I didn't get many words in, to be honest. So it's, I don't know. I think there's no one out there that can do it like he does it. Is the reality. I'm not trying to be Eddie. I'm never going to be Eddie. He's the best at what he does, and too many people want to be experts at everything. I can quite easily sit here and say I can't sit there, host a press conference, asking questions to the same level that he can. And I think to do things a little bit differently, to utilize other people's strengths is better. I like the format when I do it. I'm better at getting asked questions than asking questions. I'm not, I didn't come into this job to become a host or a presenter. Otherwise I would have gone and done that. So for me, it's just something a bit different. And basically me sitting here admitting that I am nowhere near as good as Eddie Hearn. I don't think anyone actually is.
Well,
When it comes to that.
Well, at least you're honest, because to be fair, I hadn't noticed it until Eddie kept on bringing it up and saying, "Well, I might have to have a word." You know what he's like; he likes to wind you up on camera. And I thought, "Oh yeah, I'm going to ask him why doesn't he actually do it?" But like you're right, let everybody work to their strengths. It hasn't got to be so rigid, and not everyone is Mr. Showman.
No. And yeah, I don't even think a lot of other promoters can do it. A lot of other promoters don't actually do it themselves anyway. They have a host hosting the press conference. They do say their part, and then they move on. And like I say, I think because of my position, I get compared to him. So everything I do is in comparison to him. But no one actually goes. They're completely different people, and that's the reality. We are different people. We have different strengths. He's the best at what he does. I'm all right at what I do, and it makes a good pairing.
And I'm going to touch on that. And for those of us that are ignorant, and those of us that I think, because the internet is a cruel place. And they like to refer to yourself as the T boy, the apprentice, even though you are Matchroom's, you're the CEO. So talk to us about your strengths, Frank. The stuff that we often won't see because you're not tap dancing in front of the camera. Not that Eddie tap dances, but you know what I mean. The
Yeah, yeah.
showmanship. What do you do?
I do a lot more of the paperwork. I run the numbers
Oh,
of the business side of it. He is the constant show. Like he's doing interviews all day, 24/7. He's in with fighters, and mine is to run the business side of it. The day-to-day operations of the business. We got close to 40 people working with us now, in the team all around the world. So running that business is a lot of work, and 40 events a year around the world, and consistency and building new events, going to new locations, signing new deals. That's really the focus for me now. And yeah, we do very different things, and also we come at it with different approaches, which I think is important. Eddie is obviously a huge boxing fan, has been his whole life. I'm not saying I'm not a boxing fan. Obviously I work in it every day of my life, but I haven't grown up with it. So I take a different approach to, maybe sometimes he'd say, we should do this or we should do that, because he'll look at it with maybe a fan's head on. I will look at it from a purely business perspective. And he does as well. Don't get me wrong, he's a businessman at the end of the day. But sometimes when you have a huge passion for something, that can aid a decision. But it works both ways, because he's made decisions in over the time which have been beneficial that maybe I wouldn't have done. We always talk about the Lomachenko Campbell fight. When we did that show, I remember looking at the numbers. I said, I think this is a bad idea. I don't think we should do it. It was just after Anthony Joshua had lost against Andy Ruiz, and Eddie was like, we have to do it, for the business, for boxing. Like, we have to do it right now. We lost quite a lot of money that night. And we always look back at that and say, we had two different views there. But yeah, I think it's completely different strengths. And he lets me get on with what I do. And, you know, we always joke and say we basically wheel him out and say, right, go and talk, mate. So, yeah, that's the side people don't see. And I'm not bothered about this, like, as in doing this kind of thing. No, but as in, you know, I'm not
Oh no,
calling for it. But at the same time, we're such a big business now. He can't be everywhere. He can't do everything. He can't be at every press conference. If we've got 2 press conferences same day, different countries, etc. So, you know, it's for me, it's about building the Matchroom brand, the boxing brand, beyond individual personalities. You know, because he's been a massive part of why Matchroom is where it is. But now we have to capitalize on that, like with our deals in Japan, for example. You know, Eddie hasn't been involved in that. He hasn't been to a press conference. He hasn't been involved in a conversation directly. It's because we've utilized the brand. We've utilized the Matchroom, the prize fighter brand. And that's what I'm trying to do. Because at the end of the day, you need to, you know, in 50 years from now, we want to still, I don't want to be involved in 50 years, but I
but the
still want the
brand.
business and the brand to be thriving. And that shouldn't matter about personalities at that point. It should be about Matchroom being the biggest name in boxing and being able to take that global. So, yeah, that's very much my focus right now is expanding globally. You know, I was out in Equatorial Guinea the other day looking at shows there. We've done our Japan deal. We're in talks in Malaysia. We're in talks, obviously. We got Saudi this weekend, you know, sorry, next weekend coming. So, you know, that's the focus really now for me, the day to day. And it's exciting.
Yeah, it definitely is. I love that. Can I ask then, you know, in regards to business decisions, obviously you guys are now the ones that are going to be broadcasting Taylor Catterall 2, a fight that I was there for the first one. And I've seen a few conversations where Eddie's thought, oh, I didn't really think it would have sold this much. We could have gone bigger, you know, an immediate sellout on the same day the tickets were released. So you, with your numbers head, did you predict that it was going to do as well as it did?
I'll be honest with you, I didn't think it would sell out as quickly as it did. No, I did think it would sell out. I didn't think it would be as quick as that. I think one of the stumbling blocks was obviously the location, not being able. I would love to have done it in Manchester, personally. I think
Makes sense.
but I understand both fighters their view, you know, and I'm just glad we got the fight on because it's been a tough time. Like we haven't had huge nights, and I think this is a massive night for British boxing. So I'm just glad we got it done, you know, and that was something when we were looking at the numbers. Yeah, I was quite shocked how quickly it went because don't get me wrong, this fight was 2 years now
Two.
since the first one. You know, so you never quite know. But, you know, at the end of the day, people love a domestic dust-up. They love a bit of spite between the two of them, and that's what we've got there. So I think it's going to be a great night, and, you know, maybe we'll do a third one.
I've got to move on to Tyler Denny versus Felix Cash. You guys won the purse bid, which kind of like sort of like eliminates the myth that purse bids don't go ahead between Boxer and Matchroom. Matchroom have quite rightly won this, the highest bidder. Talk to us about that purse bid. And I spoke to Tyler like recently, and he said, you know, he's just literally waiting for a fight date. Any suggestion when that fight will be put together for a date?
Yeah, we're just working through our dates now. You know, we're obviously up to April 27th, we're done, and then we're
Yep.
working on our May shows and June. So we're going to have a date very soon for that. I'm excited to see Felix Cash back out because he's a brilliant fighter. Look, Tyler Denny's done great as well. You know, I think you have to favour Felix Cash in that fight, personally, not just because we promote
Really?
him, but I think so. I know he's had a long time out the ring, but he's a brilliant fighter. And you know, but Tyler Denny's done great. You know, he's been on a really good run, and I think he's a great fight. Another great, you know, domestic fight to look forward to. So glad we won that purse bid. Yes, a purse bid happened for once. I think they might pull out a one soon, but you know, at least we got one over the line.
Hey ho, baby steps, they say, baby steps. Another fighter that seems to have gone under the radar since his last bout, where he lost against the elite Jai Opataya, Jordan Thompson. What's happening with him? When's he going to come back out? I've tried to get him on the channel 5 million times, and he keeps on hiding. Hi, Jordan.
Yeah, I actually met with him he came into the office a few weeks ago now. He's taken a bit of time out. He's just recovering from some injuries. I think he'll be back out in the summer, come back at heavyweight. sort of July, August time. You know, he's got to make the right decisions now. And you know, a lot of people question that fight with Jai Alpertai, but you know, with Jordan, it was his opportunity to change his life. You know, and he could have waited another 2 years and not got a world title shot. You know, in that time. You know, it wasn't always that the weight was hard for him. He's huge. Like you look at the size of him, you know, and to get down to 200 pounds, it was a massive, you know, a feat for him to do that. So I think he did the right thing taking the fight, you know, and like I say, it could have, you know, he could have gone out. He's a big puncher. He could have gone out there, and it would have changed his life. But now we've got to work on a path back, and I think the aim is heavyweight for him and get him in the right fights. But yeah, he'll be out for a little bit longer, but the summer, I think we'll see a return from him.
Awesome. You've dealt with a lot of fighters over the years, and I'm not saying that all fighters are the same, but you will maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, you'll notice sort of, one for a better word, patterns. When it comes to fighters like dealing with losses and overcoming them, obviously you had Anthony Joshua when he lost. I think the Ruiz loss seemed kind of calm compared to the Usyk loss. And then obviously like Jordan with Opetaya, fighters across the board. How do they deal with these losses? And how do you, as their, I don't know, I guess you are their promoter, but there's got to be some kind of support network there for them. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. Look, I think for us, where we, you know, look, we promote 400 fights a year, have done for the last, you know, and you get used to your fighters losing is the reality.
Okay.
And like, because it's just a bit, you know, it's like, you're not going to win them all. So like the first time it happens in a big fight, you're like, oh my God. But after a while, it's like, that's sport. That's, you know, being in high level sport. I think my view on losses is the pressure of losses is being taken away with people taking real fights. You know, and I think like you look at like Ryan Garcia and someone like that. You know, I know he's going through a tough stuff, but like Ryan Garcia in the Javonta Davis fight, he took the hardest fight. People gain more. You gain more respect. Sonny Edwards against Spam, for example, you gain more respect going into real fights, taking tests, and giving it your all, and losing, but going, you know what? I went in there. The best man won, and I think that's where the UFC have got it so right for so long. They put people in real fights, and yes, people lose. But look at a lot of UFC fighters. There's not many undefeated UFC fighters out there, but people are still interested. People just want to see great fights. They don't care about, you know. I think the days of titles, losses, you know, being important, are sort of a dying breed. Again, go back to Tank against Ryan Garcia. There was no belt on the line there. You know, people just want to see. Yeah, people want to see great fights, and you know, I think it's never going to be easy. Like, I'm not a fighter, so I'm not like, you know, I don't have to deal with it. It's never going to be easy for a fighter to take a loss, but I think the sooner we can change that mentality, and I'm not saying we don't build fighters up in the right way. Like, you know, you still have to do a job. You still have to get them the right fights as they're coming through, but it gets to a point where you need to make proper fights. And I look at like Cameron Vaughn against
just about to mention him,
Jordan Flynn. Like, that's a great fight. A great fight early on in, you know, but even both of their careers, and respect them both for taking it. But look at the eyeballs it's gained, and look what it's going to do for people's careers going into a fight where there's actually a bit there between the two of them. And win, lose or draw, as long as you give an entertaining fight, that's what people want to see. And they'll watch you again and again and again. And I think we need to take a bit of the pressure off of. And again, I'm not a fighter, so I'm not going to sit here and say I know what it feels like to take a loss. But that's my view on it.
No, I get it. It's just interesting to get like a different perspective, because and it kind of brings me on to the next topic, which is Chantelle Cameron. I've got to credit Boxing King Media. He did a lengthy conversation with her. She's obviously left Jamie Moore and gone into Steel City with Grant Smith, both top gyms. Some of us may have scratched our head on why she left Jamie Moore, but she's happy. She said she made the right decision for herself. You know, amicable split, and she's got to do what's right for her. But one of the things that she mentioned, and it was sort of like she said, I've not had any contact from Matchroom, like to say, hey, how are you doing and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't know. Does that happen because you've got so many fighters, or
I don't know. It's not so much. The reality is a lot of fighters now, a lot of the dealings, and this is what's changed in the last 10, 15 years, a lot of the dealings are with management, with their agents, management teams, etc. And you don't, even if a fighter wins, you don't necessarily speak to the fighter all the time. It's always, this is the plan we're looking at next. And when she was winning, it's no different to when she won the Casey Taylor fight in terms of the conversations, if you get where I'm coming from. Like, of course, we want to have relationships with the fighters, but then we obviously have to respect, you know, the fact that they've got people put in place and they've put management teams in place who want to
As a
deal with the
conduit.
detail. Yeah. So, you know, it's like we met Josh Warrington yesterday. My last conversations for the last month or two have been with Josh Warrington's manager, for example, around what's next, making a plan, because it's his job to negotiate with me, for example, as to what's going on next. But yesterday we had to sit down with Josh Warrington, but it's not, we don't talk to the fighters when they lose. It's a case of, you know, the fighters have teams in place whose job it is to negotiate with us and make the plans of the next steps. But we see fighters all the time. We see all our different fighters. So, you know, that's not the case, if I, you know, being completely honest. And look, our job with our fighters is to deliver the best possible opportunities for them. And I think with Chantelle Cameron, we've done that. You know, she made life-changing money, and she's done the job in the ring. You know, at the end of the day, she's delivered two of the best fights I think we've seen in a long time
Yeah,
with Casey
brilliant
Taylor.
fighter.
You know, and you have to respect them both for getting in there, putting on, like I say, a real fight, and you know. But our job is to deliver the best possible opportunities. And, you know, I know she hasn't always been vocally happy, maybe, with that, you know, but at the same time, I think, have done our job to deliver for her as a promoter, and will continue to do so as well. So, yeah, I think the relationships have very much changed as well from the past. You know, like when we first started in boxing, it was a lot more you with the fight. Yeah, and that's what
Smaller group.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what happens as the business grows. I'm sure, like Dana White at the start with the UFC, with every fighter would see them, but we're traveling literally
Every week.
Yeah, I got back on Thursday. I'm leaving Saturday today. I get back next Saturday. I go somewhere else, you know, and it's the same for Eddie as well. So you're always on the road, and we always try and see our fight. You know, if there's a couple of fighters in Saudi this week who aren't boxing, but like Pat McCormack will be out there. Peter McGrath will be out there. We'll sit down, we'll catch up. You know, and that's really how it works, because there's not always that time that we maybe had in the past, because we were doing 15 shows a year. Now we're doing 40, and the business is where it is, and that's the business has benefited from the sport getting bigger and bigger, and the fighters have benefited. But yeah, it does. I'm not going to sit here and say maybe we don't spend as much time as we used to, because when it was like Darren Barker, Tony Bellew, you know, those, we were doing a lot of their shows, and you were a lot more on the ground than maybe we were historically. But the business has grown as well, and you know, we've got a lot of people working for us now who have relationships with different fighters. You know, like I may have a relationship with 15 fighters that I speak to. Eddie might have one with 15 or 20 fighters. You know, Tom Dallas, Kevin Rooney. You know, so I think, you know, it's good for different people to build those relationships. And although it may not be, you know, not everyone will deal with Eddie directly, they might deal with me, or not everyone will deal with me directly, they might deal with Kevin Rooney in America, for example. So, you know, I think it's a change in times, but you know, we're always trying to deliver at the end of the day the best for all of our fighters.
I think, yeah, I'm just trying to think maybe, and I guess it's easy for me to say because I'm not on the inside. I'm not a fighter. You know, I just speak to you guys, but sometimes I think maybe it might be a good thing to just devoid of emotion, and it's just strictly business, and treat it as such. And then you can't really get your feelings hurt if you never expected anything in the first place, maybe. Don't
Yeah,
wear your heart on your sleeve, in other
I think that
words.
there is a lot of emotion, and that's life, isn't it? You know, a lot of
Yeah.
people are emotional about things, especially when times are tough as well. And but I think, like I say, at the end of the day, we're a business that we have to deliver the best opportunities for our fighters, and you know, that's our job and our aim to do it, and we'll continue to do that. And you know, emotion doesn't always come into it, and like I say, actually, that's where I'm probably different to Eddie. I'm quite, you know, if I ask a lot of people, I'm quite cold, because we got hundreds of things going on every day. Boxing is a mad business, and you have to make decisions. You have to move quickly, and you know, I'm the colder one. Eddie's the more relationship person. You know, so that's probably one of the differences between the two of us.
Yeah, but it takes different
Takes
sorts to
two.
make something
Yeah,
work. Yeah, yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
it's got to work like that. But you're on your way to Saudi. Exciting times. We've got, Joshua is going in against Ngannou. I watched the gloves are off, the face off, sorry. And he swore then. The with Ade Oladipo. And it was very interesting to listen to Ngannou sort of smile with confidence and tell the viewers, tell Ade, tell Joshua how he intends to beat him. Such calm confidence. And I remember the camera zoomed into Joshua's face and some of the expressions on his face because he's got those NVCs. Not he just shows you what he's thinking. It's almost like, how dare you even like say that to me? Did you watch it, and how did you find that, and how does that benefit that fight for AJ for him to say, all right then, I'll show you?
Yeah, I think AJ thrives off of people saying those types of things, as you say there. I think Francis Ngannou hasn't really got the pressure on him in reality,
All right.
because again, a
No,
bit
you're right.
like the Tyson Fury fight. And look, I'm not saying he hasn't got pressure. Obviously, everyone who
I
gets in
know
the
what you
ring and does,
mean, but yeah,
but like if he loses against Anthony Joshua, everyone goes, well, it was his second ever boxing fight. Um, I think he I think we saw what Francis Ngannou did in the first fight in his first professional fight against Tyson Fury. Many people believe is the number one heavyweight in the world right now. But I think Anthony Joshua is in the best place of his career. He's coming off the back of 3 wins in 9 months, 10 months. This will be his fourth fight in 11 months. I think the momentum has been key for him. I think he's working well with Ben Davis and Lee Wiley and Barry and all the team there. And I think he more than ever, he knows what he wants. And look, you have to commend him for it because he's done so much in the sport. He's won world titles multiple times. He's made an awful lot of money, but all he wants to do is improve and get better. And I think you've seen that over the last year. I think you've seen a lot of improvements, and I think you're going to see a great performance on Friday night. It's not going to be easy, but it's what he does. And a lot of people have doubted him in his career. A lot of people will always doubt him, I'm sure, but he's proven people wrong time and time again. And I can't wait because I think Friday night's going to be great, and then onwards from there.
it is. But I will say, to me, the fight of the night is going to be Zhang Parker. Um, both have improved, especially Joel Parker has improved tremendously under the tutelage of Andy Lee, the body puncher. I'm really excited about that fight. As you know, Joel Joyce been in with both of them. We've had 2 completely different results, and now those two, you just literally cannot call that fight based
No,
on obviously Joel Joyce being in the middle of this pyramid, as it were, this triangle, this love triangle of boxing.
yeah, but I think also with those guys, it shows how you can't write people off. Like Joseph Parker, 6 years ago for Anthony Joshua for the unified titles. I think it was 2018 in Cardiff. Now, AJ obviously went in, got the win there. Joseph Parker then, he had the loss against Joe Joyce, as you said there. Who would have thought Joseph Parker would then go on? Like, I love Joseph Parker, by the way. I've loved him for a long time. I've got a great relationship with him. But this is what I'm trying to say about losses, about taking real fights. If you go in there and give it your all, people will still want to watch you. People will be interested.
100%.
And Joseph Parker is an example of that. And he, after the Joe Joyce loss, who would have thought he'd go on to then beat Deontay Wilder and now be fighting
Crazy.
Zhilei Zhang, who beat Joe Joyce? It's wild. And he couldn't happen to a nicer bloke because he is one of the nicest blokes. Zhilei Zhang as well. We worked with him for a long time. I get on really well with him as well. So it's a brilliant fight. And yeah, that for me just shows why you can't write people off in this sport. And, you should take fights because you're always going to come back, And look, how many times have we seen fighters take what should be walkover fights, look poor in it, not win, and, it doesn't work. But yeah, commend both these guys for taking real fights.
You know what? It's kind of spot on that you've mentioned that, because how many times would you say, Frank, that you've heard when fighters, because they've gone in and made somebody that's subpar to them, that they've said, oh, well, I kind of like just turned up for who I was fighting. and there was not really that effort because they didn't think they were on their level. They won, but they coasted through a win. So it's quite right why you said we're going to start to tightly match these fights now. We're going to really like put the screw down so we can get some entertaining nights, some risks. Somebody could lose their ult if they're, you know, one of these old fighters.
Yeah, but it also does nothing for them. You know, in a camp,
In the long run.
you got a 12-week camp as well, and you get in there and you go, am I really up for this fight? But everyone thinks I'm going to win. I think I'm going to win, you know, and you put in a lackluster performance and then people are thinking, oh, that wasn't very good. You know, I think, again, it's all about building fighters in the right way, but at the same time, we've got to deliver the right fights. We've got to deliver proper fights that people are interested by. And that will only benefit your career, win, lose, or draw, in my opinion.
And the last one from me, is a Matchroom content with their stable as it is, or are you looking at continue to grow it? I mean, Eddie sort of alluded to the fact, you know, you've got the 5x5 coming up. I won't need to ask you about that because I know it's going to be announced after the Joshua bout. Are you looking at signing anyone new? Because Eddie sort of like alluded, well, we might sign a heavyweight. Anything like that in the pipelines that you could possibly just give us a little hint?
Yeah, look, we're always no names for me.
Oh, never mind.
We're always looking at new fighters. You know, look, we signed Cibriel Matias the other week, who many people believe the best 140 fighter. You know, recently, not long ago, signed Andy Cruz, who I believe is going to be a superstar in the sport. You know, every week we're looking at new fighters and always looking to expand the stable. There's a load of fighters out there we'd love to work with.
Get David Morrell Jr. as well if you can.
Well,
he's going to be a problem.
He's very good, but we never sort of sit back and go, all right, I've got everyone now. You know,
all right.
So always new ones, but I'm not the man. You know, get Eddie on and he'll give you some names.
Okay. Awesome. Listen, thank you so much for your time. Have a safe flight over to Saudi. Obviously, I'll be tuning in. I'll be doing my YouTube live on fight night.
Perfect.
So if anybody fancies watching that, I'll just watch and talk over the fight. It's great. I love it. But Frank, until the next time, I suppose I'll see you in the coming weeks. There's supposed to be a press conference for the 5x5 coming up, so maybe we'll catch up face to face again. But I'm definitely up for doing the YouTube live if you are.
Definitely. I'm in.
Awesome. Thank you ever so much for everyone tuning in. You know what we say at October Red? Stay ready.
People say I'm toxic, and honestly, I don't care.